Alright, this is a ChatGPT clone created with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This is just a UI. I have not implemented the actual API to get the reply from the server. You can follow along if you're just interested in creating the UI design from scratch. Fine, if I type something, you could expect this animation, and that's it. You won't be receiving anything from the server because I have not implemented the API. It's just the HTML part, HTML and CSS part. To follow along, I have left the source code in the description. In case if you got stuck somewhere, just copy paste it and start along. Alright, now let's start creating the CSS. The very first thing what we need to do is we need to have three files: HTML file, CSS file, and JavaScript file. As you can see on the tabs, you can see I have three different files. I'm going to name it as demo.html and create another file, Control S. I'm going to name it as demo.css, and then another file which is going to be demo.js. Cool. Then let's create a boilerplate HTML code, exclaimer tab. We can link our style sheet which is demo.css, and we can link our script tag which is demo.js. Now I have a plain HTML. Let me copy paste it and I'll explain you what it is. We need a container which is chat container. Inside the container we have chat. Let's just focus on chat, and then we have chat content. This chat content holds chat details, and inside the chat details we have image and an question to the ChatGPT. And what we need to do is inside the chat container we just need to copy the same div and paste it one more time, and you can name it as ChatGPT because this first is for question and the second is for the ChatGPT answer. And then you can change this to ChatGPT image. I have stored it in the folder which you can download it, and you can skip this width and height as of now. Let me show you how our HTML looks like. We have named it as index demo.html, and this is how our HTML looks like. Let me get into our CSS which is demo.css, and for all element let me remove the margin and padding, and let me add the font. In this case I'm using the font called Marshall Sans, which is similar to ChatGPT font. Now I have removed all the element margin and padding, and I have added the box sizing border box. As I said, I'm adding for all element Marshall Sans. Cool. Now if I refresh, a font has been changed and a padding and a margin has been removed from all element. Now let me create the hierarchy. So without wasting time, I have just used the I have got the CSS hierarchy. So inside the chat container we have chat, inside the chat we have chat content, and then inside chat content we have chat details. Chat details holds the image and padding, sorry, image and paragraph. Now if you want, we can make the width and height of the image as 32 pixel, and now you can remove the width and height width from here. If you don't remove, if you don't add this width and height, it will take the original width and height, and the image will be so big, so we don't want that. Now for the body we have a ChatGPT color. This is a ChatGPT color. I have taken it from here. You can see, you can just type color from anywhere, and you can pick the color using the color picker tool. Just copy this and you can get the hex code. Just copy this and paste it over here. And for the body, this is the ChatGPT color, and for all element in the body the color should be white, and the width of the body should be 100% of the viewport width. It is because we are going to give flex to it. That's the reason. Now if I refresh this page, you see what you got. Now for the chat container, we don't have to do anything for it, but for the chat which holds the chat content, we can make this display flex. The reason the only problem is doing display flex is you will be getting side by side. Make sure it is saved. You see the chat holds the content, so we have to give it to the chat container. Now both the chat will be side by side. We don't want that, so to avoid that we can give flex container, flex direction column. So one below, you'll get one below the other once you refresh the page. Now what exactly we need, you see there's some space on the left and right. Let's get that. So display flex, align item center, justify content center. So we got it. Now for the chat content, let's add width to 800 pixel, and so this is going to be max width, and simply the width going to be 100%. If there is two element, this one will be taken, and if it doesn't work, then this one will be taken. That's the reason for giving two. Now inside the chat content, inside the chat details, we want the image and the text to be side by side. So display flex, and for the image we can give margin right 20 pixel, and for the paragraph we can give font size as 14 pixel, and for the chat details we can add padding top and bottom 25 pixel, left and right 10 pixel. Cool. Now for this chat we can choose the color. Just pick the color, use the color picker tool and select this color. So this is going to be the ChatGPT's reply. So for ChatGPT's reply we can give background color. Refresh this and you got it. Now if you see in ChatGPT, if I type 3 lines, it is going to it will allow you, but over here in our design it is taking, as once it completes it takes all these lines as a single line. We don't want that. We want it to display as we are pasting it over here. So there is a property called white space pre-wrap, which will help that. Now if I refresh it, how did you paste it on the HTML? The same way it is going to get displayed. You can see there is some space here. It is because of this space. You can just remove it. Now if we refresh, here you go. Now we want a font awesome icon just after the just inside the chat content. Now if you see just inside the chat content, we have to place a div. So in order for the font awesome to work, we need this CDN. Without wasting time searching in the Google, I'm just copy pasting it. It is recommended to have our font awesome link just below our custom CSS. Now you see it's over here. So it's inside chat content, not chat content, chat details. Actually it's inside, yeah, that's a problem over here. So this div is for this one, for font awesome icon. So we have to choose the chat content. Just copy the chat content, create a class called chat content. Inside the chat content we have a div called copy which holds our icon. Now for the chat content we can make display flex, align item center, which will vertically align, and justify content, Let's try center. Doesn't work. Flex start, and we have to somehow push this to this place. And it's very simple. What we have to do is get the chat content and just make them space between. And here you go. So we are almost there. There's so much padding. We can remove it by making this 10 pixel. And for the font size, you can make this 13. Alright, now let's try adding this animation into our ChatGPT. Fine. Now the very first thing is, let me open our demo.html. So the Visual Studio Store, if you just type Control V, you'll be able to access the code which is in the same folder. Now the demo.html. What we need to do is we need to just copy the same chat div and paste it once again, just replacing the paragraph. Just to save time, what I'll do is I'll just copy paste the HTML. The HTML is very straightforward. We have a main container called typing animation. Inside the typing animation, we have 3 childs, which is typing dots. This is what we are going to animate right now. Now we have typing animation. Inside typing animation, we have typing dots. So if I refresh this, this is how it's going to look like. Now for the typing dots, we'll be giving a width of 7 pixel, height of 7 pixel, and the color is same as the text color, which is white. Now if you see, you'll be having 3 cubes, and we can have margin top and bottom 0, left and right 3 pixel. Now instead of one below the other, I want side by side. So call the container and give display flex to it, and to vertically center, align item center. Now to make this circle, we can give border radius 50%, and let's just reduce the opacity of 0.7. Now for the animation, we can give animation name animate dots, and the time, and the type, and the animation speed, which is in this case we would be giving ace in and out, and the number of animation that need to be played, which is infinite number of time. And let's just define the animation at the rate keyframes, animation name on 20 on 0th time frame and on 100th time frame, and then on 50th time frame. So on from start to end, it should have transform translate y of 0, and in the middle I want to be like minus 6 pixel. Let me show you. And on the start and end, the opacity need to be same, but in the middle the opacity can be 0.2. Now if you see on the HTML, we have added a property called delays, so we can copy this and use it here, and we can give the delay property. Since we are using CSS variable, we can directly access it. So each of them has 0.2, 0.3 and 0.4. So we can give individual element. So that seems to be working. Now to make this little faster, we can make this 44 and 22. Cool. It seems like ChatGPT is talking to us. Now let's start creating this send button. You can see this typing area. We're going to create this typing area now. See, when I type something, this button gets the glow effect, or else if I click somewhere else, it is not getting glow effect. This is what we are going to see. Now let's continue from here. So for HTML, let me just fix this and I'll explain you. Now we have a main container called typing, and inside the typing we have typing content, which holds the text area section. And this text area section has two main div, which is two children's, which is the text area. You can see the text area has the attribute called required, and then we have the button called send, which has a class send. So now if you see the container, the content, and the text area, let me just copy all and get into our CSS demo.css, and let me just paste it and comment this. Now it's very simple. So if I refresh, this is how it's going to look like. So the reason for giving the main container is we can give position position fixed to it, so that it sticks to the bottom of 2%, and we can give background colors just to see red, and we can make the width as 100% because we are given position fixed. That's the reason. Now let me just make this little lighter so that we can see what's actually happening behind. Cool. Now the content will have a width of 800 pixel. You can see as we have already given max width as 800 pixel, and width has 100%. Now display flex, it's better to give this to the text area and give display flex to this container. Align item center, justify content center, and let's design the text area width of 100%. Overflow by hidden. Now if you see this, this will be hidden, and resize none, and height as 15 pixel, 25 pixel, and the background color be transparent, and border be none, outline be none, and for the text area let me add padding 15 pixel, background red. Now we can give this background color to it, to the text area. Just type somewhere color, use the picker tool and pick this color and pass this to our text area div. Cool. Now this text area has two children, so we can use display flex, align items center, justify content center. Now we got it. Now I think we can remove the red color over here. We're almost there. Can reduce the padding to 10%, and if you want you can make this 4% to the bottom, and top bottom left right 20 pixel, and the color of the text area need to be white. So if you see, I have added the property called required. That means if the text area is valid, if the text area is valid, then after the text area we have a div called send. I want to change the background color to red. So the required will only happen if I type something, and you can see as I type something it is getting red. If I remove, it's getting disappeared. Now let me just copy the color which I have added to the send button, so it's similar to the ChatGPT color. So if you see on the main ChatGPT, you see this color. That's what I have picked it. Now if I type something, it's getting valid. To add the padding, it is better to use the Chrome inspector. Padding 10 pixel, top, left and right, top and bottom 8 pixel. Cool, and border radius B 5 pixel. You can just copy this and paste it to the send button, and only when it's valid we can give the color. Refresh it, and by this time you can make the opacity as 0.7 or 0.5. Once it's valid, you can make this 0.7. Type something, you see it's working. And to make it smoother, we can add transition 0.5. Yes, refresh it. Alright, now let's fix the scroll bar, and let's add some drop shadow to the typing area. Now get into the HTML and let's just copy paste the chat some more time so that we can see scroll bar. And yes, we got the scroll bar. You'll see the code in the W3 school. Just copy this. I have not modified anything, just directly copying it and pasting it just below the body, and make sure to have this width by 4 pixel. And our demo, you can see the demo HTML works perfect. Now we can see there's some scroll bar at the bottom, so to avoid that we can get into the body and give overflow y-axis hidden, and now that's gone. Now we have too much space, so let me just reduce it. Get in the typing container, let's just make this 0, and let's add box shadow to it so that it won't merge with the background. So box shadow, x-axis 0, y-axis 10 pixel, spread 50 pixel, and the color black. And I think we are getting the whole, but we don't want that to be applied to the whole. Let's just type into container or typing text area. Cool, that works. Now if I type something, let me just copy this and paste it over here. So we are not able to see the scroll bar. To see the scroll bar, what we can do is get into the text area and remove the scroll bar. Now refresh and type again. Now we are able to see the scroll bar, but you can see it is overlapping. So get into this button. So we have given the color, we have given the class called send, and make this position absolute and right of 5%. The problem here is we have to define the position relative area, or else it will take the parent as a container. So where we have given width 800 pixel, yes, it's here. So we'll make this as parent. So position relative, and cool, that's working. Now I think the percentage is too much. Get into the send and reduce the percentage by 3, and let me just copy this, and you see we don't need padding over here. So I think this is the padding. Just copy this section and search it over here, left and right, top right 0, bottom 10 pixel, and right, sorry, left 10 pixel, 20 pixel. And now you could see the scroll bar, I guess. Copy the whole section and paste it, and yes, you can see the scroll bar, and the scroll is also working. In case if you want to give height to the text field, you're free to go copy this, and where I have given height, you can make this 45, 55 according to your need. So I'll just leave this to 35, I guess. And cool, I think we are almost done. Alright, now we'll see how to add this. If I type something here and if I click on the send button, you'll see the data appear on this screen. This is what we are going to see right now. Now let's create, we have to use the JavaScript here. We have to call the textarea and the button. So let's just call here. So demo.html is our HTML, and here you will find textarea has an ID and a class, and a button has a class send. So document dot query selector, so this is going to be the class send button, and then we have a ID, text area input. Now it's better to remove some of the chats. We'll just leave first two. Refresh this. We can remove this ChatGPT as well. As of now, we'll comment this. Now you'll see when I click on the submit button, we'll add an event listener, which is going to be click, and we'll create a function called populate HTML, and we'll call this function over here. And what it will do is it will get the entered data. So entered data, as of now, will define as null, but will populate the entered data with the text area input value. So we can get the value by using the value attribute, and we'll be removing the white space before and after the text area input. So once this is done, we have to pass this data into a function called create element. Let's pass this data. Along with data, we want this class to be followed too, because if you see, if I type something, the class myself will be added. If ChatGPT types something, then the class ChatGPT will be added. So we'll, if as of now I'm typing it, so this class should be passed along with the entered data. So this is the class name, which is a string. Now we have to define this function just above where we have created it. Now since it's a string, we can just pass the name, class name, and now we need to add an HTML, add HTML. So what we exactly need to add, if you see, we have to add the whole this thing, or just the child. Just copy this and use the tilde sign and paste it. Tilde is just above your tab. And now we need to replace this paragraph text with our data which we have received through the text area input. Now as you know, in the HTML you'll see it has a parent which has a class called chat. So it's better we'll create an element over here, document dot create element, and it's going to be a div create div. We can just give create a div, and this created div will have two class dot class list dot add. The first one is chat as we saw earlier, and the second one is the data which we have received through this function. And now we have to append this HTML into this. So created HTML dot inner HTML equal to and the added HTML. Now we have to add this created div with class chat inside the chat container. So let's call this document dot query selector, and the class name is going to be, this is the parent, and we have to append child and with our created div with class chat. Now let's try. Hello.
And now
And yes,
you got
we
it.
want to add this animation. If I type something, and ChatGPT should have this animation once I click on this button. Fine. Now what we need to do is, it's going to be the similar step what we have created earlier. Now after we have added this text by the user, so this is the place, so we need to call a set timeout function that will call another function show animation. So let's create this function, and now if you see, it's going to be the similar step. Just copy the whole thing and paste it over here. We just need to add the suffix to avoid naming conflict. I'll explain you the code once I refresh all the names. So once the show animation is called, we will be creating a div with class chat, and this time it should have the class called GPT. Previously we had myself, because I'm questioning it. Now the ChatGPT is replying it, so this class should be there. It's a string, so we need to pass it as a string, not as a variable. Now in this place of paragraph, we would be having this div which we have already seen in our CSS creating, and that's it. And once this HTML is created, we are adding with the appended div, and this appended div is getting added to the main container. So it will be called after 500 millisecond once we click on the button. So let me just get this and click on send, and here you go. And again if I click, it's coming after 500 millisecond.